What's up? What's up?
What's happening?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah.
We are live.
Live and in living color.
I was actually running a little behind, bro. I was showing my Shanita the closer, man. The closer.
Oh, really?
You know the closer is, the closer.
Does this show the closer?
You'll figure it out in a second. The closer, man.
Man.
That the closer, think about the great relief, the relief pitchers.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
That end, when they come in and save the game.
Right. Manny Ramirez and
Rivera. Yeah. Bruce Sutter for those old school.
There you go.
Those old school cats. Hoffman from the pod, the closer, man. We had a great closer on. You'll
Would
figure.
You dare say Smoltz? He became a closer later on in his career.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. But you'll figure it out in a second.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to Local Musicians. Yes, that was
a little different delivery right there,
A little different, man. That was real suave. That's real suave. You must be hanging out with Quinones. Suave.
Hey, we got harmonica players / pastors joining the chat.
Man. Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat. This is going to be an interesting show. I think we may have some special guests chiming in every now and then on this particular subject. And so we gonna go ahead and get some housekeeping out of the way. If you guys have not subscribed to come cousin
and just materializes, bro.
And last week, dude, that was so funny, bro. I woke. If you go back and watch when you came in, man, you were eating something.
I was chewing on some gum.
Smacking the man, that jump, man. I don't know how I held it together, man, because rewatching it, man, I was just cracking up. Welcome to the show, Daryl Reeves, the Reevish one.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
What's up, brother?
Yeah,
man, just running, trying to go down the list and get it done.
Right.
Well, school's about to. Yeah, you guys. School's about to start. Everybody's about to get in that school mode, man. So
one of your kids on the sofa, bro, looking mighty comfortable. It's time to get off that sofa and get in that classroom, bro.
Yep.
So everybody's preparing for that, and well, I guess the young kids have already started. They started last week, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, but as I was saying, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Go to our YouTube if you are not watching on YouTube, but go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel and set your notification bell. That will let you know when we are live. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram and get all of your Local Musicians XP stuff there.
What are we here for, bro?
We had a great event. And last Sunday, we did the Latin introduction to Latin rhythms down at Hateville.
Hey, bro, I hate to interrupt.
Academy thing. What you interrupting for, man?
What are we here for? You didn't say.
Oh, we are here for your audio and visual pleasure, man. Man.
Oh, it's part of it, bro. I'm waiting for that part of
man.
Okay.
Man.
So now, what happened Sunday, bro?
So Frankie Quinones and I, and we had an opening guest artist, our brother, Kina Boto, and his sons, the Aya Drummers. We might have a little Aya drummer clip coming up right now. Mr. Falgu has been so courteous as to record the event and chop up some individual videos. So we want to show some of those to you guys. Those will post on social media over the next week or so. And we do have another event there, another show that will be held at the same location. This is in November 2nd will be the next installment. Now I'm trying to find another spot, maybe in between there, so see how that works out. But second installment of the Introduction to Latin Rhythms will be November 2nd, and it will be at a much more friendly ticket price. So we will have figured that one out there. I think I set the ticket price a little too high there, but
beautiful.
A good turnout. Thank you for all of those who supported it and came out, and we really appreciate the support, man. But you're gonna be knocked out by the just seeing the kids, man, and what kids are capable of with the right mentorship, with the right.
Do you want to watch that right now, or you?
We'll bring it up in a second. But we're gonna talk about the next feedback section. Is going to be the date has been changed, guys. So sorry about that. We had a little contract snag or a calendar snag, actually. So
but it gives you more time to prepare.
I think it's a good thing. So it's going to be September 28th is going to be the date for the next feedback session. And we got some new blood, right? New blood.
Yeah.
New blood. Actually, guitar player that came out last week at Napoleon's last night, who graduated from Kennesaw.
Damian Padron.
Damian.
Yeah.
So he wants to do it. And so we're gonna have some new a bunch of new people, and as well as some of the others who have played before. So, and we'll mix the groups up, right? We're gonna mix them up. So have different people playing with different people. So,
how important is that to mix up the groups? I mean, if you want to just talk about it for 5 seconds.
Well, I'll let Daryl. What you think about that, man? It's important to.
Is it important to play with other people?
Learn how to play with different people, especially maybe people that you've never played with before. Is that important?
Absolutely. I think that, that can help just put you in a different element for a while and just, adjust to that. I do like the idea of continually playing with certain people just because you can develop something with them over time. But at the same time, to definitely play with other people.
Yeah. In my ignorance, I thought that Herbie used different cats on the Headhunters because Tony Williams didn't play funk or fusion. Till I ran across Tony Williams playing funk and fusion, I was like, oh, no, he definitely could have played on this. But you just think about playing with different people and getting different experiences for sure. So.
And also the right fit. Tony wouldn't have been a good fit with the Headhunters, man.
Right.
I mean, as genius as he is,
right.
I can see that.
Not until it was done,
What you mean?
I believe that he would have figured out the concept after it was recorded, but
he don't even play. I don't even see that. He don't even play like that though.
Right.
He plays. Tony plays in it especially his sound and the way that he was like what he was hearing in terms of his sound. I would not have. I mean, he could have done. Of course, I hear what you're saying. It's Tony Williams. He could have done it.
Right.
But it wouldn't have been. It was. It would have just been so different, man. It's like hearing.
Perfect. Yeah.
Did you ever hear the first installment of the 5-piece band with Chick, Kenny Garrett, Christian McBride, Vinny Colaiuta, and I'm missing somebody in that band. John McLaughlin, right? Yeah, John McLaughlin. The second installment is the same cast, but with Brian Blade.
Right, right.
And it's like, of course, I mean, some people, of course, the Blade heads are going to be like, oh, it was better or whatever. But
the Vinny,
I mean, just because it was a fusion band. I mean, I don't really consider Blade a fusion drum. He doesn't even have that kind of sound or anything.
Right.
But you know, it's all they can. I mean, everybody can do it, but it's like, the right fit sometimes is just what you just kind of. But so that's that, and but going back to Sunday, it was a special day, especially because our friend Kina Boto brought his sons out, and so if you haven't seen or heard, because my man is really not social media, he's not on social media, or he doesn't do anything like that. So a lot of people haven't seen or heard from Kina for a long time, but this is a group with his sons, and he has two of his sons playing. They all play percussion, but this particular lineup, he had one of his sons, Ahmad, on bass, and he had one of his sons on flute. But all these instruments are handmade instruments that he made from scratch. The drums, the bass is it's a two-string bass that he made a long time ago. I remember when he made that, and then the flute and everything they've made everything. So it's astounding to see. But I just want to play a short clip of that and just let some people who weren't there check this out. So here's a clip of Kina and his sons with Hi-Hat drums. All right, Brian, go ahead and pause it. So, man, the little one, man, it hits the one every. He marks the
right
phrase. So they're like playing it's like a 2-bar. It's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1.
Right. But in the meantime, he just
yeah, he was hilarious, man.
right.
Some of there's probably another clip that we'll show another time where he was just cutting up, man, and making these faces and stuff, man, making everybody laugh. But really just just to see what my man has done with his kids is just, and they're into sports, man. They've all played, they play sports. Ahmad, who's playing bass, is a killer pitcher, dude. Like, he's 14.
Did he not play baseball too?
I don't know. I can't write. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe, but they're into, they play, baseball, and but Ahmad, the bass player, is 14, and yeah.
It's interesting that you play this clip because it really segues nicely into the topic we're talking about. Mm-hmm. There's a book entitled Land Where the Blues Began that talks about the importance of drum and fife music, which is an African tradition, right?
Okay.
And it really extends into our bands and colleges and stuff where marching band is huge. In New Orleans, I mean,
yeah, man,
incredibly huge, right?
Right.
And that same thing of drums and marching around and dancing and playing the flute is largely historic and is predates the blues, but leads up to the blues as well. So yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get into it, man, because we'll read some of the comments. I made a little Facebook post last night, so we've got some nice comments to draw from there, and maybe some cats will get in the chat and drop some comments or whatever. But a pretty polarizing topic, I would say, and I thought about that, and I was like, man, do I want to post this? I said, but hey, we got to do this at some time, because I really can't. I mean, Tyra, how long have I been talking about like this blues and where is the blues? And you and I have had
a long time,
multiple discussions about like, what's going on. I mean, I had the, really the pleasure of playing with a great blues guitar player, Chris Duarte, who is steeped in blues and steeped in the tradition, not only, because Chris is from Austin, so the Texas blues, but also knowing about Chicago blues, Memphis blues. We like knowing all of the different, which is something that we want to talk about a little bit tonight, is different, people from different places had a different take on how they were expressing the blues. But you have a really beautiful, you have a whole dissertation on the blues, man. I don't know if you got pulled any of that up for tonight or not, but I'd like for you to kind of open it up and just start talking about that, and then we'll pass it to Daryl, and I know he's got a lot to say too, but I'm real interested to see what you guys had to say, because none of us really comment. Well, Daryl made a comment on the Facebook, but you and I really didn't. So
yeah, we laid back.
Yeah. All right, man. So why don't you go ahead and open it up?
Well, if we want to talk about the blues, you have to think about the blues in terms of the meaning of the word, the blues, right? And so it has many meanings. The blues musicians never called it blues music. It was just American folk music, right? But at the same time, the blues denotes a feeling. It denotes a color. When you say I'm feeling the blues, I'm feeling blue, that says sadness, right? And Sunhouse even goes to say that the real blues is when you're sad and when you don't know what's going on and when you woman left you and left you for somebody. I mean, he really goes deep in it because at a certain time, the blues started changing from those emotive feelings into like jokes and all these other different things. You know, I think Albert Collins had a hit that was like, "I'm not drunk, I'm just drinking," like that, right? And it's always been a way to cleverly turn a phrase. Uh, but if you look at the blues, you can. Man, I wish I would have pulled up this clip. Maybe I can get Brian to pull it up. But there's a Senegalese work song, and I can't think of this guy's name, Henry something. If you look on YouTube, Brian, you can see Senegalese song and blues. Just pull that up and see what happens. Just give me the thumbs up if you find it. But anyway, it shows that the work song and the blues emotive of singing was very similar, right? In the way that they phrased, and they came up with all these similarities in phrasing. But when Marcellus says there's a difference between the pentatonic and the Senegalese work songs and the ring shouts, then the blues, he feels that it's this culture clash that you have of European and African culture by means of slavery that introduced the note of suffering, and that's this bending of the pitch of the third that becomes a major third and a flat third at the same time. And Daryl could talk about that too, how that is really an enigma to European musicians who, or should I say classical musicians, who try to figure out how can you have a major third and a minor third at the same time, right? And that is this note that Witten calls the note of suffering, is this bending of the pitch that guitar players and vocalists primarily can do. And I'm sure you on saxophone do it, and violin players can do it, where you bend pitches, or even trumpet players, right? It wasn't until piano players had pitch control wheels where they could do these bending of pitches. But Herbie got around, and some others got around it by holding a note and then playing the flat third and the major third, right? To give the emulation of that it's bending. But remember, the piano wasn't a blues instrument because it was expensive to have a piano. So singing and guitar was, or a diddley bow was like the first instruments that was used for the blues. But basically, it's this collision of these two cultures that created the blues. It's the extreme oppression that was created by slavery, that this music became as a coping mechanism. And we all know from our own daily lives, if you're doing any type of work, music makes the work go by faster, right? And that's what they did with these solitary songs and these coordinated songs that they used for work. So originally it was really folk music that other people went and discovered and started chronicling. Alan Lomax being one of the first. It wasn't even called ethnomusicologist at the time, but he was an ethnomusicologist. He actually came under fire too, by the way, for taking his music and profiting off of it by getting various positions. But that's what researchers did back in the day. But I digress. So he started putting these recordings in the Smithsonian, and that's how we got it labeled the blues. So that's the introduction into it.
Oh, so it wasn't the blues before he put it in the Smithsonian. Like it was, like it wasn't regarded that way.
It wasn't. Well, somewhere along the way, I'm not going to credit Alan Lomax for giving it the title of the blues, but it wasn't really known as the blues until probably Robert Johnson. But the blues existed before Robert Johnson, but nobody knows how it started, when it started, because nobody was documenting the music. You know, it just was happening.
Yeah.
They figure it started in the Delta, in the Mississippi area, whatever. But really, everything probably starts with Robert Johnson, and Son House talks about, you know, how he was a little kid. But before that, nobody knows exactly. Even like Handy, he heard a guy playing blues on a corner when he was going to his gig, because Handy used to do marches like in the vein of Philip Sousa for all these kind of things. And hearing this cat playing the blues on a guitar changed the trajectory of his music and the music of Alabama and the world from there, from him, organizing the blues. So
before you
Yeah.
you chime in, Daryl, I wanted to ask something. So would you say that that's sort of a birth? Was that kind of birthed out of maybe slave songs and then the church, and like those kind of a combination of those
Yeah.
two things? Would you say?
Yeah, Dr. Dwight Andrews talks about, he gave a workshop that the difference between the blues and church music is simply the lyrics. And he showed different examples of the
Mhm.
same harmony, the same
Mhm.
texture, just different
Mhm.
lyrics. I mean,
Mhm.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe, she was considered a rock and roll musician, but all her lyrics was gospel music. So her blues music and rock music that she did, rock and
Mhm.
roll music,
Mhm.
what's the difference between that and Chuck Berry?
Right.
It's just the lyrics,
Yeah.
really.
Right.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I looked up what the definition of the definition of the blues, and so one was as a form, as the 12-bar form. Number two was as a sound slash feeling. And I think that's probably where, like, Winton's talking about the minor third and the major third. That's probably having a lot to do with that feeling. Like, how do you take a note and evoke a feeling into it, and how do you do it in a way that people get the feeling that you're trying to to put out there. And so that's one part of it. And then the last part is a cultural foundation. So I guess and what does this say? Originating in the Mississippi Delta and other southern regions was the seed for jazz, R&B, rock and roll, soul, and hip hop. Figures like Robert Johnson, Bessie Smith, and later T-Bone Walker shaped its development. But the thing about the blues for me is that they're like you talked about, they're different kind of styles of the blues. And that's always been interesting to me, because like there was a time when some musician friends of mine, we were talking about Blue Tane's Big Adventure. You know what I'm talking about? That was on I think Jeff Tane Watt's first album.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And basically what it was somebody said that, okay, it was Winton, Branford, Delfio, and then Kenny Garrett. And Kenny Garrett stuck out like a sore thumb compared to the way the rest of them sounded. And somebody was saying, I think this was Quamon Fowler, but he was like, man, they should have had Wes on there because Wes fits better. And in that context or whatever. And I was just like, but hold on, like, so what are you saying? Like the blues style that Kenny plays is not acceptable for this style that the
Man,
style that Winton spearheaded, and so it's just like that made me want to like go down that rabbit hole of figuring out, okay, where did this style of blues come from versus
yep.
this,
Yep.
because I even said that, like, when I like Robert Glasper, his group, I hung out with them one time and they were talking about, like, this subject came up with Kenny Garrett, and I was just like, yeah, he has that kind of, like, Mississippi, Chicago, kind of blues in him. It's like a different kind of sound. And they were just talking noise, but that's an interesting thing. Like like I know that BB King was influenced by T-Bone Walker, and T-Bone Walker is said to be influenced by Blind. I think his name was Blind Lemon.
Jefferson.
Blind Lemon,
yeah.
Blind Lemon, yeah.
And Blind Lemon is from Texas. So it's just like, that's interesting, like how the lineage, like where did this type of blues start versus like when you listen to Sidney Bechet, that's to me a whole different, another type of blues sound.
Well, that most of the blues cross-pollinated because of work projects and when they could develop transportation. So going up and down the Mississippi River, that steamboats would have it. But then when they were building the levee system through Mississippi and Louisiana, you cover so much ground, you kind of pick up songs along the way. And then when you had the railroads, that was a different, they were able to go from east to west. So you think about just the iconic blues areas up the Mississippi River. You got Kansas City, you got St. Louis, you got Chicago, you got everything that goes up the Mississippi River. Of course, you're going to share those sounds. You think about Charlie Parker being influenced by being in Kansas City, all that's there. Yeah. And I think, Brian, do you have that clip of the YouTube clip? Can we play it real quick? Just real quick so you can see this by Henry Ratcliffe. Talking about, here we go.
Whoa, if I ever make it, baby, I belong gone. Whoa, the captain said hurry along. Oh, and the sergeant said run. Whoa, if I had my 30-40, I wouldn't do either one. One in a get on no second in you are you am. Whoa, I'm going down in Louisiana. Oh, don't you want to go? Whoa, I'm going down in Louisiana. Don't you want to go? Whoa, you look for me in Louisiana. I be long gone.
Good, you could pause it right there.
Whoa, you look for me.
So y'all hear, look at the characteristics of the blues: solo, unaccompanied singing. Usually that's with some type of work project. Melodic contour, terrace descent with undulation, pitch sensibility, gliding, bending, blue notes. The vocal delivery and timbre, speech, song continuing, goes from singing to speech, syllabic, melismatic, right? Doing the melismas, maybe strain, buzzy, the grain of the voice. Those things are important to the blues musicians, where in classical music, those things are frowned upon. Yeah, it has some melismas, but not like that, right? Bending of the notes. And the difference between meaningful singing and singing that makes meaning. And I think that extends into our playing. We can talk about that more, but I think that's what's missing is what's the meaning in our playing, right? Where's the blues at? I don't want to say suffering, but where's the emotion part of it? Where's the bending of the notes? Where's the constrained notes? Where's the frustration? Where's the space,
Mm-hmm. But I think the human experience is an important factor in what makes the blues so effective, is that you're supposed to feel whatever the giver is giving at that time. So, one of the things I talked to Chris about, and he, because I made a really ignorant comment one time about Eric Clapton, the great guitar player. I said, man, what has Eric Clapton got to have the blues about? He's rich, had every. He's like, and he was like, man, well, his you realize his son died off, fell off of that balcony and killed himself when he was 2 or 3 or something like that, and he just started naming a couple of things, I never thought about, like, it goes, he was into the blues further than that, but I'm just saying, like, it's about your whatever your experiences are, which is what makes it so cool. And so, like, everybody has their own blues. If you everybody has the blues at some point in time. I think we are just so unemotionally available at this time in the world because everything is based around fabrication and materialistic gain. So people aren't running around, for lack of a better word, butt naked. I mean, they are, but for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Like, you're not showing your true self. You're in character all the time. So I think that, that plays into it somewhat.
Do you know that John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, like Eric Clapton was, but before that they had skiffle music. You know what skiffle music is? Have any of you guys ever heard of skiffle music? Yes. Skiffle music was what they thought the blues sounded like. Imagine visiting Jamaica for the first time and eating some food in Jamaica, and you go back to America. It's like, I remember eating some food. Let me see if I can recreate it here. But you don't have a Scotch bonnet pepper, you know what I'm saying? But you're trying to recreate the blues.
Right.
And that's what they did. Yeah. They recreated what they thought the blues was, but it wasn't quite right. And then they switched from skiffle music when they got more informed, like they had more blues musicians coming into England. But it was really quite incredible that this music that started off in the Mississippi Delta, there's Piedmont blues, like you said, Daryl, all these different areas and types of blues that just has gone all over the world. And but anyway, Chris, this is your topic that you brought up. What precipitated this topic besides the last 10 years you've been talking about it?
Just, I mean, that's because I started to hear less and less of. The only time I heard the blues was when someone was sounding like they wanted to capitalize on being a blues musician, So
you put that in quotes.
Because once the contemporary everything is now about, so my experience again with playing with Chris Duarte and being around a few of these festivals, and I think I made a comment to you. I was like, man, this is probably the easiest genre for people to perpetrate in because they think it's easy and anybody can do it. And unfortunately, you have a large contingent of people that think there's only one blues. And once they hear bow, 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 oh, that's the blues. That's the blues.
Yeah.
And once that's just like any other thing, but once that gets marketed as in a certain fashion, it's over. Not that you want to call the blues necessarily an art form, but it is a way of life. It's an existence for a lot of those people who, quote unquote, develop this style of, I like to call it expression. Why would you call the blues a genre? You see what I'm saying? It's because it has nothing to do with being able to sell. Once those, Tom Gross, if you're in the chat and you want to come in, let us know, because you had some great points, and we're going to bring in John Beal here in a second to get his opinion on some stuff. But when the blue, because I don't even want to get into necessarily the race thing, because there's a lot that that would take up a whole nother 35 shows, but when those young kids in London learned about Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson,
Bronzy
and Lead Belly, and and the list goes on and on.
Blind Willie McTell.
It not only the sound of the music, but what the cats were talking about, because they could relate to the struggle of being in a town, a desolate town with absolute, man, what it's like most, like those small London towns were, you know, they either you were going to go work at the steel mill or you were going to die. There was no other way to get out. So that they could really relate to that. But once those kids started playing them and trying to play the music, right? Keith Richards will always say, I just try to play it. I'm trying to give you my example of this. I'm not Muddy Waters. I can't play like Muddy Waters. I can't play like Buddy. I can't play like any of these guys. But that sound resonated with them so much that this huge movement of British musicians gravitated toward and came up with their version of it. And a lot of people here, a lot of us were like, oh, they stealing. And it's like, well,
no, the American GIs brought the music to them first. And to your point, Chris, it was war torn. We never had a war on our soil that was bombarded where the world war was fought on our soil and we saw like buildings destroyed and stuff like that. I mean, you got to imagine the landscape. World War II and American GIs are bringing music over that represents freedom to them and suffering that they could identify with, you know? So to your point, yeah, there was a lot of, we don't think about that suffering in that in Europe because of the war that was fought on their soil, the bombings, and to see a black man get out of a tank in Cologne, France, and there's a picture or sculpture of the tank, the black guy coming out of the tank, and the music that they brought over these records of the blues. I mean, that's powerful for them, and it's powerful and it's palpable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring in John, man. Let's bring in John. And so, well, you got something, Daryl? You got one more? You got another point?
The question, because Tyrone was asking the question. I'm asking the question too. Like,
okay,
in today's music, where do you feel like the blues is most missing where it should be? Like,
well, let's save, because we're going to get to that. But let's get John's opinion, and we got some other comments and stuff like that. But that's really what we're gonna get to in just a second. So, yeah. So let's see here. Falgu will get the 4 person. There we go. There we go. You just had. There we go. There it is. There it is.
Hey guys,
what's up, John?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. We got you.
Hey, cool. What's up?
Got a lot of nice keyboards and musical instruments. It's not a green screen. That's real stuff. I don't give out your address on this joint, you know?
No, man. It's a secret location.
What's up, man? Give us your opinion on what we've been talking about.
Hey, man. First of all, man, I've been really, really enjoying the conversation, man. Y'all have been hitting on some serious things. Y'all were talking about, you know, the secular versus the sacred part of the blues. And when you talked about Tyrone, when you said the difference between the church musicians versus the blues musicians, when you were quoting Dwight Andrews earlier. So being from Atlanta, there's a particular musician in particular that's near and dear to my heart by the name of Thomas Dorsey. Yeah. He wrote this piece that y'all might know called Precious Lord. I'm sure y'all know that piece, right?
Yes.
But what y'all may not know about Thomas Dorsey, there's a street in Atlanta called DeKalb Avenue. I don't know if you know DeKalb Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, during the early 1900s and up until about the 1920s, from about the turn of the century till about the 1920s, that street was known for its brothels. And and so Thomas Dorsey was very famous for playing in those brothels, providing the music, because there were no DJs back then, so it was the musicians. So Thomas Dorsey was one of those musicians that was playing in those brothels on Saturday night and then playing in the church on Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So, that's just, but how many of, people that that these days play in the clubs, on Saturday night and play in the church on Sunday morning and catch a lot of flack for it, even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But but the same music. He was playing the blues. So they said the Precious Lord was actually, legend has it, that it is a piece that he actually wrote while he was in the brothel and playing.
Wow.
So I don't know how true that is, but that's what, you know.
Maybe he was saying, "Precious Lord, take my hand and drag me out of here." Maybe that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you had an interesting comment on Facebook where you were talking about blues and auto-tune. Can you clarify that?
Man, I'd be happy to clarify that. So here's the thing, you know, I do a lot of production these days, and I'm working with a lot of different artists, and we do a lot of pop music. And one of the conversations that I have with many of the artists and many other producers in my circle is the lack of blues in popular music. If you listen to the top 10 records on Spotify for about the last 5 years, in the last 5 years, the top 5 or top 10 records on Spotify, none of them have any sound that sonically resembles anything to do with the blues, with the exception maybe of every now and then, maybe an Ed Sheeran song or a Bruno Mars piece occasionally. Maybe, and I say Bruno Mars loosely with, you know, loosely, but and the reason being is because we've done so much to take all of the humanness out of the human voice by over processing with auto-tune and pitch correction in the studio. We have all of this equipment to make everything perfect for this beautiful, pristine recording. Everything, you know, we use Pro Tools, Logic, you know, digital audio workstations, and everybody goes in and surgically, you know, manufactures these wonderful, perfect takes. I don't know, you know, the artist Billie Eilish, that, you know, she's famous for actually going in with her brother and actually recording every single phrase bit by bit, not doing a single take. That's how she records. Every note was done, or every word was recorded phrase by phrase. That's how they piece together, you know, these songs. That's not how you evoke real emotion. It's put together, and that's not the blues. That's not real emotion. It's manufactured. And by doing that, you're not keeping the human aspect into things. And so auto-tune, there are no blue notes. There are no blue notes. You talked about blue notes with the quarter tones, those in between things. Unless you're doing what they call the share effect, you know, on the auto-tune, where you're purposely creating those robotic type slides. But that's not a natural sounding slide. It sounds robotic. It sounds artificial. And there again, it still doesn't have any soul to it. Yes, the stuff sounds cool. There's a difference between something sounding soulful and something sounding cool. Yeah, it sounds cool because it's like gimmicky, but does it really translate to something that makes you feel long term? It's like technical wizardry is something that we can all get blown away by until the next something, blows our mind with the next piece of technology comes along and blows our mind. But a good feeling song lasts forever. You know, you think about the favorite song from your youth. You still feel that. You still feel that.
Right.
Definitely.
But you go back and watch a movie that you thought was so cutting edge, you know, with the technology, and you're like, dang, this technology was pretty whack.
But the acting is good.
Some of it, yeah.
I'm talking about the movies that, when you talk about older movies that
he was making the point, Chris, that if you look for the cutting edge effects, that it's not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
But you were about to ask him a question, Chris.
No, I was just, with the auto tune, and we talked about the AI stuff last week, but I I think has, even if you go, I don't know when the last time any of you guys went and listened to quote unquote the blues channel, right? If you go to like Sirius XM and listen to what they pump out as blues, it's just, I mean, they're using the same stuff that everybody else is. So, but the formula is the heavy guitar. There may be some B3 in there mixed in, big drum sound, big vocal, but and it's in the framework of what is known as the blues, but that stuff has been polished and perfected just like the pop music has. So it's really interesting to go hear what is passed off as blues. I don't want to attack any of those any because I mean there's some cats that are really let's just say that there's one guy in particular who sort of owns that genre right now, and so he's a pretty polarizing cat. I'll just say his name is Joe Bonamassa, and it's like there's like a huge swing of people that like him.
You talking about the air conditioned blues that he plays?
And people that don't like
sweated a day in his life, bro. That's straight.
That is making so much money because he owns all of like all the vintage guitar, if Chris Blackwell was around, he could tell you,
Chris Blackwell,
boy, that would get him lit. But I feel like it's the same thing as what's going on with pop. It's like it's just like everything sounds real polished and no mistakes. Everything is on the grid. Everything is, click track central. There's no movement. There's it may have a little swing to it just because of the nature of the technical ability of whoever the cat, the drummer playing or whatever, but it sounds like, which like you said, it sounds like your air conditioning. That's what it sounds.
That's so funny. That's funny. So
I got a question for Daryl or John. When you guys do production and produce artists, do y'all get any pushback when you want them to have like a little grease on the note, or or Daryl, when you're have a saxophone player that's playing, you're like, hey man, they want to correct the mistake, and you're like, man, no, to go with that, keep that going. Do y'all get pushback on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes. And sometimes I have to fight for the wrong. I have to fight for the coolness. I have to fight for the funk.
Yeah, it's like today's studio culture is they have these templates set up already. So when you come in the studio, like the template, the vocal mic is already set up with a chain that includes auto-tune. And unless you're a person that insists on it, like I don't need that, it's pretty much like expected that, oh, okay, you're going to use auto-tune if you're a singer, because that's become part of the culture now.
Yes.
Of the expectation. And you just have to be somebody that's like clearly known as somebody that is known for their own voice in order for that to just not be the thing. But, and I've done sessions with singers where it's just like, that's just what it is. And funny enough, I was in the studio with T-Pain one time, and he pretty much told me, he was just like, yeah, man, they slowing the music down, making everything slow so they can. I don't want to say what he said, but he was basically saying that they dumb the music down on purpose, to reach a certain audience. So the music is being made for a certain young demographic, and so therefore it's like he sits in the studio and will just sit there and go through SoundCloud and just laugh at stuff, because how sad it is. That's the kind of stuff that he does. But it's just pretty much like he knows that in terms of the way what he did with auto-tune was something that was, now I don't want to call it gimmicky, but it was a new idea that was like, okay, I can get on with this. This will be the next thing that people will be fascinated by. Like, oh, T-Pain does the,
But he
you
stopped
know, the
doing it.
robot thing on his voice.
T-Pain stopped doing it. He's not doing it
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, because
He
he knows.
sounds good.
That's what I'm saying. He knows, but just in terms of like studio culture, that's just an expectation that, oh, okay, that's what it's going to be. The rappers use it, you know. I mean, the rappers, like a lot of the rappers use auto-tune just straight up, like by default. It's like it's there, and they'll go in and rap, you know. And I think it comes down to this, like, you know, the technology. People are scared to be original these days. What they think originality is like, okay, everybody's using the same 808, but maybe if I add in this one little thing, that'll make me different. But it's like, you know, you're still using the same drums. It still sounds like one long beat when you listen to the radio. You know, you still it sounds
the same
like
cicada
one,
hi-hats.
the same
I call them.
artist.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I call them cicada hi-hats.
Yeah.
Daryl, you said something very interesting. Our listeners might not really understand fully. You said the vocal chain. Of course, I deal with Pro Tools and you do and stuff too. And it is really out of control how much people, you know, production used to be just like music. You experiment to get the sound, and producers and mixers, people who mix, would have their sound from experimenting. Now everybody wants to know what the exact vocal chain is. And John,
Right.
you can talk about, like, what is a typical vocal chain, and can you describe that to people so that the listeners can know what you're talking about? Either you guys can answer that question, what a vocal chain is, because that
So,
is
yeah.
real nowadays.
So a vocal chain, generally you have, you know, you start with your microphone. And then you have what's called your microphone preamp, which is what you plug your microphone into. From the preamp, you hit either a equal EQ or a compressor, depending on the which one you want to hit first. A compressor is a thing that limits the dynamics, that keeps that limits the dynamics. Like you can either make a whisper or a yell, kind of evens it out basically. So so right now I'm actually speaking to you guys through a compressor. So if I yell, you see how it didn't actually
peak.
It didn't peak.
Mhm.
So that's an example of a vocal chain.
Right.
Of course, there's no auto tune going on, and I did that on purpose.
But yeah, but you know, now they're adding, like Daryl said, that's part of the vocal chain now.
Correct.
And everybody wants to, how are you getting that sound? What compressor do you use? What's the setting on your compressor? And we had an episode where Chris was talking about cats with their drums tuning to these mechanical tuners that's going to tune their drums, and they share information. Hey, what is your tuning on? 0.25, whatever. Why? You know, why are you trying to seek to get the same sound everybody else is doing when your voice might not even work for that? Why do you need to know what my vocal chain is for Beyonce to emulate that? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's
it's a two-edged sword. As you know, because I teach recording techniques.
Right.
So one of the things that I teach my students to do is to listen and identify vocal chains.
Right.
Because they have to in this industry, unfortunately.
It's important. Yeah, you get a sound dialed up for somebody. You don't want to just forget it and start from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I'll pull up, I'll get a session from a known artist, and I'll strip it down. I'll get the original multi-track session from a popular song that's out, and I'll strip it down. And one of the assignments that I have for my students is to, hey, recreate the mix that the radio, that you hear on the radio. This is one of the advanced, it's a highly advanced session that I have, for them. But this is well after they've had a lot of training. But that's something that they're doing just as a skill set to be able to do. It is not something that I want them to do because I don't want them to be able to copycat. It's just something I want them to be able to have the access to have in their toolbox as an arsenal, as a learning tool. So, because, it's the equivalency of being able to, we need to all know how to play arpeggios as a pianist. We all need, there's certain tools that we all need to know how to do as a drummer. You all need to know how to play what is it, paradiddles, or am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that you all need to know how to do. So as a recording engineer, there's certain things that you need to understand. But that doesn't mean once you get those basic levels of things, then you need to experiment and be creative and go find your own voice. And one of the things that if people don't do that, AI is going to do your job for you. Because that's all AI is doing. Because AI is doing, they're copying. AI is copying what everybody else is doing.
So, Chris, you had some comments from Facebook too.
Yeah, that's good. So, Brian, you have some of those pulled up from our Facebook fans about the blues.
Yeah, to me, it's a thing of everybody's copying everybody, and so the music. If you look at, like, for instance, trap influenced music the trap sound, right? It's 2025. You can go on World Star Music, like World Star Hip Hop on YouTube now. Watch the videos, look at the videos. Go 10 years back to 2015, and I guarantee you they're the same videos with the same types of sounds. It's rarely changed. It's just at this point, it's kind of like being stagnant on the same thing because, well, that's what the biggest stars are doing and it works. So we're just going to keep doing that and riding that out. But to be drastically different, to come up with a drastically different approach and sound, you're kind of like blocking yourself out from being able to be accessible to most people, because now people have that sound in their head. Like a whole generation has this sound in their head, and unless you're dealing with that particular sound, they don't. It's like it's foreign to them. They don't know.
Right. Well, that's the thing about the blues is, identification of sound, which, it's like when I talk about like what they call the three kings, right? B.B. King, Albert King, Freddie King. Now Freddie King is Texas, BB is Memphis, and Albert is
Albert King was Texas too, but
is that Texas too? Freddie's, we'll look that up. But anyway, you have a completely different type of
from
Mississippi.
Albert King, Indianola, Mississippi.
And that's not even including some of the Chicago cats. So,
which most of them came from Mississippi, Chicago cats.
Right. So, but when you talk about sound and identification of how you're playing a shuffle, because again, you have different types of shuffles.
What is this thing you call a shuffle? What is
I know that's a prehistoric. That's a prehistoric.
Late at night trying to get a
prehistoric technique.
Is that a shuffle?
It's a prehistoric technique, but all of those things require experience. I think you can study anything, right? As a drummer, I can study a shuffle, right? I can study the notes. I know that it's a triplet based, the snare, where the snare is, but how I feel the shuffle is what is going to dictate, does this sound quote unquote authentic or not, right? So, and getting away from, all of the machines and all that stuff and getting back to like the human thing. I think that's one reason why it's like a lost art form, because people have to actually do it in order to be successful at it. So that is going to limit a whole lot of people in 2025, because people do not want to actually do it. They want to push a button, run it through such and such, and get the end result. What do y'all think about that?
It's easier.
So I think AI is going to be the great eliminator of a whole lot of that, because AI is going to take a lot of people's job. A lot of people are producing themselves on out of a job because AI is going to push those buttons for people.
Right.
And the record labels.
That's interesting.
The record labels are already creating. Spotify already has playlists of nothing but AI artists. It's already here. And it's just this, and it already sounds like a lot of the electronic stuff. So think about this. If you got auto-tune so people already sound like robots. There's no blues in their voice. There's no nuance in their voice. And I'll say this, for years, I didn't know the difference between Katy Perry and Taylor Swift, except for their songs. I do know the difference because of their songs, but their voice, if I hear them right now, I don't know the difference in their sound. They sound exactly alike to me because they're auto-tuned so much that I don't hear any nuance in their voice at all.
So are you saying that the more that we take the human feel out of the voice, the more we are apt to listen to AI, because
we're conditioning ourselves to it? Yes.
We already conditioned ourselves to listen to AI because we already taken the human part out of the voice. So
that's
let's
exactly
go all
what
the
I'm
way
saying, Tyrone.
and go straight robot. Let's go out and take it out.
That's exactly what I'm saying. We've already been conditioned to it. But interestingly enough, you've got a whole generation of Gen Zs that are gravitating and looking for old music. So, old music for the past 5 years has outsold new music by tenfold, because people are looking for what's real.
Right.
There's
Chris.
Because they're looking for real stuff. There's
Chris,
just
they got somebody who's just as optimistic as you are.
So let's see, Mary, how you doing, Mary? Read what she let's see. Go ahead, Tyrone.
I work in AI, and I think Chris's point of authentic feeling driving the authenticity of the music will be what people will want to hear.
I agree with her.
ChatGPT said the same thing.
I know. It only took an hour. Hold on, let me see. I was waiting for the first ChatGPT comment. It was only an hour, 10 minutes, and 3 seconds in. D, that's good, man.
ChatGPT said the same thing, huh?
All right. So okay. All right. So let's check. So we have some other comments here. Brian, you want to pull up?
You want to go to Flutus? Go to Flutus one. Oh wait. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You got it, Chris? You want to read that?
Yeah. So this is George Flutus. Okay. So this is my brother, great drummer George Flutus from Chicago, and he says, I think a lot of it has to do with the academic approach to learning. There seems to be a lot more focus on learning scales, patterns, formulas than really listening and developing a love of blues in a natural, organic, and heartfelt way.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Being an educator, you only have a finite amount of time to deal with anything. And when you're pressed for your students to sound good, you don't have time for the blues. You don't have time for anything.
You ain't got time for the blues. What?
How can you? You have a syllabus that you have to follow. The syllabus doesn't care who's in your classroom, how much experience they have, what they need. Your syllabus is not designed to be malleable to move. It's to get from point A to point B, and then the next semester you get from this point to this point. So how can you get to the blues when that may develop 3 years, and they got to do a junior recital in 3 years, and all they've been working on in the blues? How can that happen?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the
I
very
mean-
thing that we hang our hat on is we can't teach flutists to tell you. There's no way we can teach. All we can do is give the concepts and hope that they will further it and then move on to the next concept.
But is it? Well, let me ask you this though: is it your job to teach the blues?
It is my job to teach the blues.
I'm
job,
just asking as an educator.
No,
Is it your job
it
to
is.
teach the blues?
It is, but then I might be out of a job if I just taught the blues. I got to get from point A to point B. Blues might be 1 week.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Blues might be
it
1
is
week in a
absolutely it is
syllabus.
absolutely your job to teach the blues, but it is your job to keep your job.
The blues in the syllabus might be 1 week.
But can the blues be taught?
Yeah,
Yes, but it it has to also be felt.
Man,
Well, and my question is this:
I'm gonna
If it
disagree
can
on
be-
that one.
No,
but
let's say it can be taught. The bigger question is how long does it take to teach?
well, you only got 12 bars, so how long? So
So
according to
That's one style. That's
according
one
to the
style of blues
according
too,
to
a
the
12-bar
rule.
blues form. There's 8-bar blues form, 16-bar.
But
blues form.
but what I'm saying is it's
just
supposed
12
to be
bars.
it's 3 notes and it's 12 bars.
So Chris, I want to back up to something that you were alluding to earlier when you talked about how where blues production, how polished it is nowadays. One of the things that a lot of the real blues cats, the true blues cats that are still doing it now, especially when you're talking about African American blues artists, they've migrated from what we call blues over to Southern soul.
That's a genre, Southern soul.
Yeah, Southern soul. They have songs like My Side Piece, Give Me My
yeah.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
These are hit records, man.
Yeah.
Daryl, you know it, right?
Yeah, I know it.
Hey, man, it's a good song. I mean, it's not a good song. It's not a good song. It's a hit record.
Wait, okay. So, were you aware of this genre? Mr. Jackson?
I got songs
not.
called "I Got My Whiskey." And these songs,
I got my whiskey.
yeah. And these are huge Southern soul songs, and a lot of these artists that would have been blues artists have migrated over to that. A lot of the artists that would have been R&B artists are doing that. That's where they've gone, and there's still soulfulness in this genre.
Bobby Rush, that fits in there, right?
Bobby Rush, I'm going night fishing.
Yeah,
because that's where the
I grew up in the
catfish like
same
to bite.
neighborhood as Bobby Rush.
Bobby, I mean, I that's crazy to me, man.
Cats like Theodotus Ealey.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, John, is that and this is just going back to playing with when I was out with Chris for those few years. He would talk about that stuff because he would say, man, there is no way you're going to get on the blues chart unless you sound like such and such, because that's just what. And I can't remember who. I mean, it wasn't Bonamassa at this time, but it was somebody pre him. But there was a formula that had been developed that was like the only way you were going to get on the blues charts and get on the blues festivals was you had to sound like that. Would plays exactly into what Daryl was just talking about in terms of which, if you listen to certain, I can't remember what type of music you were talking about, but you go back the last 10 years, what style you were talking? What style were you talking about?
I was talking about hip hop. It hasn't changed. It's been
right.
like the same thing.
Right. It's the same. So it's like everything is kind of, and blues is no different, man. It's the same. It's like everything is just formula. So I'm not surprised that, I mean, I would feel this, like, these are people that like, there was another older black, or not Bobby Rush, but somebody kind of like that too. That I guess if Southern Soul is the genre that accepts him, I mean, what are they going to do? That's where they're going to have to go.
I mean, and it's huge. It's a huge subgenre, and these concerts sell out, man, all over the South. Man.
Wow.
It's big, and you wouldn't see it in the mainstream, but I promise you, if there was a Southern Soul Festival, there was one recently. They had a Southern Soul Festival that sold out the racetrack, Georgia. What's the racetrack down in Hampton, Georgia? The Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah,
Atlanta Motor Speedway sold out with nothing but Southern Soul artists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not a hip hop artist, but Southern Soul artist.
On the academic side, the way I look at it, like, just with music, I look at it in three categories: rhythm, the harmony and melody, that, and then expression. And like when it comes to making a person sound like they can play, you can just focus on the harmony, get that right, and then it's just like, okay, this cat can play. But the expressive part of it is something that's usually kind of like neglected somewhat, and it's like that's where I feel like if you take somebody like let's take 24 bars of a solo, like, now when we're teaching it, it's like, okay, yeah, look at the notes that are being played, but also be very meticulous about how this person is expressing these notes. Where are the bends? Where are the fall offs? Where are the, staccatos and all that? Because all of that to me is an important part of like the blues, being able to invoke the blues into, a person, and for them to get that. It's like, we tend to not focus on that part so much, as much as we're focusing on like the harmonic and scale, chord scale relationships, that kind of thing. And when it comes to, time, it's just like, like as you're talking about, Tyrone, with that syllabus, like that's what we have to get across more. But, it does need to be a focus more on like a balance between the three, to me, in my opinion.
You're right. I think I'm part of the academic system, and I think that what we really strive to do is to be a guide or a coach. And usually a guide is like you point your students, hey, have you checked this out? Have you checked that out? Certainly the onus is not on us to do everything for them. And I think that's what's expected of us, is to create these killer musicians that come in. But the onus is on the students to do the work. And even though we have these syllabi that we set up, it's really just guiding and say, hey, have you heard of this? You need to check this out. You need to add this to your playing. Of course, if I find deficiencies in my students, I'm going to work on extra time. I'll ignore the parts of the syllabus, right? But our job is really to coach and to point. And some people get out of teaching because it's hard to coach these kids, but how much time do you have in a day? I wish I could teach the blues for a whole semester. But
yeah,
again, you have to get from point A to point B somehow systematically,
Man,
and the onus is really on them to really do it.
I'm sorry, this cracked me up, guy. I wasn't trying to laugh at your comment, but this is what the festival was called, bro. Dukes and Boots, Southern Soul Festival.
That's what I'm talking about. There it is.
And it's got to be. Is that Daisy Dukes? Is that what that means? Like that's what they were, Dukes and Boots. That's what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
What's Dukes? Is that what it is?
Them Daisy Dukes.
Hey, Commissioner, put that in there. If it means Dukes, let us know. There's another comment in here that I wanted to read.
Okay.
Let's see.
But Tyrone, to your point as the educator also, man, I just as a side note, I love teaching music appreciation for that reason.
Yeah.
Because I get a chance to go cover the whole gamut.
Yeah. It's important for us as a guide to be able to do that. I mean, you're responsible for that, right? and to illuminate to get the light bulb to go off.
Yep.
Otherwise, their perspective would just rule and reign, and you know, that's not healthy. Whit Martin says, if blues is organic, then it has to be born, not programmed. There's a muse or unique inspirational component.
I agree with that. I agree with that because, like, one of the things that I'm looking at right now is like how I got into bebop. Like, what are the key things? And the fact is like my brother used to practice bebop all the time, but it's this song by Gang Starr that had a Night in Tunisia bass line in it, and that's what led me to, you know. So it's like my thing. Nobody taught me bebop. I was kind of led into it by the music in an organic way. You know what I'm saying? Rather than it being like, oh, I went to school and I sat in the class and then they taught me bebop, you know, formally. You know,
here's an enclosure. Learn this enclosure in all 12 keys.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's kind of a nature versus nurture argument, though.
Okay. How so?
I mean, it just goes back to, it goes, people make that argument all the time. Is it born, were you born into it, or was it how you were exposed early on? I think an argument can be made for either case.
Chris asked the question, can a blues be taught? But he never answered his own question. Because I think that he smiled when we answered. So I don't think he thinks it could be taught.
I think you can teach what the structure of the blues is, but you cannot teach the blues, man. You can't.
It's they have to pick up on it. Like when you listen to it, you have to just pick up on the inflections, and kind of like, it's like if you can't do it naturally, then you're gonna have to kind of study it. And that just depends on the person.
But wait, you don't think teaching is illumination? It's not showing people how, it's just creating the spark. Isn't that what teaching is?
But that's is it? Because there's
it doesn't have to be, let me put my hand on your hand and move just like that.
But that's generally that's sort of what teaching is now. It's not creating a spark. It's hand holding. We call it what it is. It's hand holding, and here's how you do this, or whatever, and that's how, at least, I don't teach college like you cats, but I do teach, and I have these, and it's this very much the same thing. It's a copy. It's copycat. That's to me is what. Now you might have somebody that that is just that has it, and you don't have to do that. So yeah, you can create that spark. You can turn them on to, okay. So for instance, your student Brandon asked me about recommendations for blues. Now he's studying jazz piano, so he's probably thinking I'm going to point him in the direction of jazz artists, right? Which I could have, but I was like, man, you got to go to the source. I was like, you got to go back and listen to Muddy Waters, and you got to go listen to yada yada yada. And I gave him this whole thing. Now, I didn't hear back from him after I told him that, because I don't know if that's what he wanted to hear, but.
No, he probably is going. He's the type of cat that he'll probably.
He is right, and maybe it's just taking him some time. But I haven't heard back from him after I gave him those recommendations, because that's not what I just know. That's not what when he listens to that, it's going to be like, huh?
Well, you just gave me his syllabus for the next semester, so
thank you. Like going back to Bloom's taxonomy.
Yeah.
Going back to Bloom's taxonomy, one of the levels is synthesize. So yeah, you teach somebody and you get them to repeat it back to you as they hear it and all of that. But then at a certain point, okay, now that I've taught you how this person does it, I want you to find your own way to do it. And that might be very slow. They might have to go and actually write down a solo and then write where they're gonna like put the expression. But to me, like that's the first step towards being able to improvise it on the spot. At least, you know what I'm saying? Like it has to get to a point where it's just like, okay, I'm teaching you how somebody else did it, but now you have to find your own way to do it, your own unique way to do it. You
so
know,
you saying it can be taught then? You saying the blues can be taught?
I'm saying, well, from a teaching perspective, is the synthesis part me teaching or them teaching themselves? Like,
Yeah,
that's the question I'm asking. Like, what do you think? Like,
I think the synthesis is the aha moment. Like now I got it, because when you repeat it, it's like teaching your kid to brush their teeth. You got to form a habit first. They don't know that cavities are expensive and the teeth will rot out and stuff like that. You just got to keep telling them, and you got to ask them questions. Hey, did you brush your teeth?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, yeah, I brushed my teeth. And you say, let me smell your breath. And all of a sudden, it changes. We got to do the same thing with our students, right? We got to say, hey, did you listen to the blues? Yeah, I listened to it. Well, good. Play me something you learned from blues. Well, I didn't really get around to it. Now, but as you get older and you realize, man, I had a couple of root canals. I gotta be really on my teeth and flossing and stuff like that. You learn that you love your teeth and need your teeth. The synthesis part is when the student figures out, hey, I'm not brushing my teeth out of habit anymore. You see what I'm saying? And I think that you can teach and illuminate them, but only they can walk in that path.
Right.
Only they can walk there. So there's some students, you can give all the students the inspiration in the world. It's our job as teachers to try to figure out what can bring about that spark. But they have to accept it and move on. And that you cannot teach. You can't teach that fire in their belly. They got to have that.
I want one of my most valuable experiences at Jackson State was not in the classroom. I had a friend named Terry who was like 10 years older than me, right? And he was a music major too. One night he was like, hey man, you want to go to a juke joint? And I was just like, what? Like, he was like, yeah, man, let's go to the juke joint. So we went to this place in Jackson. It was like this hole in the wall. It was like a 3-piece band, and they were playing blues. They had fish plates for like $6. You can get like a plate of fish and some fries, right? You get your, fish and fries, and then go and listen to the music. After the gig, the musicians went upstairs because that's where they were staying. They were staying upstairs, spending the night, and then just going to the next town. And like that was, and we went to other juke joints in Jackson too, but I couldn't have gotten that experience in the classroom. That's what made me understand what the blues was and what Southern soul was and all of that. The life that is coming from. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the disconnect. Like you got to kind of immerse yourself in that world at least with the records. You know what I'm saying? But it's better when you actually get around the environment and see what this is coming from. I mean, these musicians didn't have a hotel. They literally went upstairs and stayed in the room on some cots, got in the car the next day and went to the next show. That's, that's kind of like what the blues is. That's the disconnect, I think, part of it.
Well, I mean, when the Rolling Stones came over here in the 60s, their dream was to go record at Chess Records because the records that they were listed, that was where a lot of those, I mean, Decca and Chess Record, that's where, so that's what they were like hell bent, man. We have to record at Chess Records, man.
And what's that?
We have to, because we want that sound. That's just where all the cats recorded. So they came here, recorded, stayed at some Fleabag hotel, recorded because they wanted that experience.
But you're missing one crucial part.
Okay, what's that?
You know that the lore is, and I don't know how true it is, but everybody talks about the Rolling Stones coming to Chess Records to record, and who was outside painting the building? Muddy Waters. That's a true story.
Yeah, right.
That's a true story.
Can you imagine them wanting to come there and record and think this is the place that Muddy Waters recorded at?
Exactly.
And see, that's how far America was away from the blues, that the English artists had to come back and teach us about the blues.
That's exactly right, man.
That part.
That's exactly right.
So I want to bring up one point. There's a point of connection to talk about, blues and suffering and a connection. So in 1990, I think it was 1996 or 1997, I had a chance to spend some time over in Ireland.
Okay.
And I was exposed firsthand. This was my first time being exposed to Celtic music, and in its true raw form. And it's the first music that I experienced to come out of Europe that gave me the same feeling that I got from hearing spirituals. And as I was inquiring about it, kind of talking with some of the musicians, the Celtic sound was birthed out of the same levels of oppression that the Scots and the Irish were dealing with the Brits. That kind of infighting that they with the crown,
Mhm.
they were being oppressed, and if you know anything about Rob Roy and the history with even what was the Mel Gibson movie?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Braveheart. Was that Braveheart?
Braveheart, and how they were, rising against the British crown. That was, it was birthed out of that pain and suffering. And you talk about, the blues being taught. It's not the blues, but it's the same emotion. And
so
when you listen,
we need to take away the Chick-fil-A.
Pardon me?
Take away the Chick-fil-A from the kids and their cell phone, and they'll be able to play the blues. Just tongue in cheek. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're probably right, man. I mean, you take away the video games, man. Take away the Xbox,
really have the
man.
blues, huh?
They'll be playing some blues, man. Or take away the internet.
Ooh, if the internet is gone, bro.
You take away the internet for about 3 weeks, man. Everybody be playing some blues.
Including us.
Man.
Oh man. Well, this is a good place
That's
to
gonna have a robot.
we gotta revisit this again.
Yeah.
Got the robot
Let's,
blue.
yeah, we got.
Man, I'm honored that you guys invited me to be on, man. I appreciate this. This was fun.
Hey, man. Loved having you, man. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
I met John, man. We met
Years ago, man. Playing with Miss Fish in the new group.
Miss Fish is the ultimate. I
What?
keep trying to tell Tyrone that. I think you took his spot. No, you took Al's spot, actually. You took Al's. Let me think. Wait a minute.
Yeah, as soon as I got in the band, Chris left.
Wait a second now. Wait a second. I'm trying to think because John, were you before Al or after Al, John?
After Al.
So you're after. So then
I'm on the
Tyrone
record.
took your spot.
I'm on the record.
That's right. Okay, that's right. So that means that Tyrone replaced you.
Yeah. I'm on the record that was recorded with Jeep.
Oh,
Miss Fish in the New Groove.
Yeah, man.
That's right. We recorded that live over at Jeep Spot.
Yeah, man. Asa was on Kungas.
That's right.
what?
That's
Asa?
right.
Oh man.
Asa. Wow. Well, listen, guys. This was great, and there's a lot more where this came from. We will because we didn't even get a chance to. There's a lot of comments and stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and cut it off. And I guess we could do part 2 next week. We'll see how we feel about this, but a lot of layers to this topic, and even with race, it's interesting because there's the blues is a guitar player's music. It is just like you said, the piano wasn't even
It's too expensive to have a piano.
It's too expensive. So all you needed was a guitar and your vocal. You probably didn't need. You actually didn't even need a guitar because you could just do it a cappella. But the guitar has always been the sound of,
and it emulated the voice. It was like call and response. So, you bend a note after you sang it. That's the response. Think about the guitar being like a voice.
And have y'all heard Young King? Is it Kingfish, Brian?
Oh,
is
man,
that yeah. And but there's not many, just not many black kids playing guitar anymore. And I guess everybody wanted to be a keyboard player and a singer and a drummer.
Whoa.
I'm just calling it.
I feel attacked right now.
That's all good. I'm just saying. But that's another big part of how it got out of the community, because the guitar is, that's the thread of the music. But we will continue this discussion another time. We want to thank everybody for coming in and hanging out with us, man. We had some great comments, some great interaction. Appreciate John Beals stopping by and chopping it up with us, man. So good to see him. It's good to see everybody in the chat. And I like that I can the blues be taught. This is oh yeah, we're gonna have to really go after this one. So
yeah, send me that list, bro. Brandon about to be immersed. He gonna be baptized in that bed.
Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good to me. All right, guys, we will see you all next week. Y'all be safe, and we'll see you.
Yeah.